we move now into the second part of the meeting, which is focusing on the Glasgow Declaration Engagement Pack for National Tourism Administrations. I'll also be sharing this presentation with Susanne. We mentioned it before. The declaration provides you with a framework to take consistent sector-wide climate action. By the way, we will be having an event at the upcoming COP28 in Dubai. So if any of you is going to be there, please do let us know. And the Glasgow Declaration, as you know, focuses on mitigation, but it also recognizes the need to adapt to a changing climate and actually promotes integrated mitigation and adaptation approaches, because we think those can deliver really good results. But what does this mean? I mean, what does the Glasgow Declaration mean for a national tourism administration? So that's exactly what the PAC intends to do, intends to explain, to assist NTAs willing to embark on climate action, scale up climate action, and sign Glasgow Declaration. What do you need to do in the first years after signing? Next, please. Just as a recap, as many of you are aware, now you can see what are the commitments of Glasgow. What is Glasgow asking from signatories? So supporting the global goals, of course, then prepare a climate action plan to structure your actions, align your plan with 5 pathways: measurement, decarbonization, regeneration, which is the one that connects with adaptation, collaboration, and finance. Any kind of stakeholders can sign the declaration. Ms. Urošević was giving us the numbers in her welcome remarks, but let's say not every signatory will have the same role. We expect the roles to be complementary, and the engagement pact tries to explain the proposed role for national tourism administrations. Before I hand over to Susanne, just a reminder of the benefits of signing Glasgow. If we can have the next one, thank you. Because, I mean, besides becoming a member of a growing community of climate leaders in tourism, we actually think it brings added value. It can catalyze collaboration across ministries, as many of you have already been alluding to. You can communicate the tourism sector's commitment to climate action and position our sector as part of the solution, which we are. You can build capacities, embed sustainability and climate action in plans and policies. The NTAs can embark on measurement. They can play a multiplier effect, supporting the industry in measurement as well. Mobilizing finance hopefully will be easier once we're all activated on climate action. And on top of that, obviously, we are responding to a proactive, we're responding proactively to a growing demand by consumers. So we need you all on board. We said it many times already. We are in this together. And now Susanne will run you through the details of the pack. Susanne, please.
Okay, great. And maybe just by way of introduction, because you might wonder why are there 2 documents. So the policy guidance and the engagement pack, they're sort of hand in hand. The policy guidance is a bit more sort of really around the policy instruments that are available and examples from around the world, whereas the signatory pack is quite a hands-on. It's quite written differently, hands-on, practical. This is what you do, what your role is, and this is how you can get started. So you would find it hopefully quite useful to really basically put in place the first steps and then what's the next step after that and so on. So it's structured for those, many of you know the Glasgow Declaration, but it's effectively 5 commitments, and then there's 5 pathways within a commitment. So just the number 5 seems important, and that's useful to know, because commitment 1, sort of the highest level, support the global goal. It's got the reduction target here, and the practical steps are really finding out, you know, what's your current country's NDC, who's doing it, and we've already heard in the contribution now that many of you are already quite aware and partnering already, which is great. Maybe checking what's the own tourism strategy saying, is there any space where climate change can be added, etc. So that's sort of almost the baseline, supporting the goals. The second one then is sort of delivering the climate action plan, and that is meant to happen within the 12 months after signing. Now, in government, sometimes things don't happen in 12 months. We know that. And in fact, there's policy cycles. Maybe a strategy has been done every 5 or 10 years. So in that case, it may not be possible to have a fully blown climate action plan, but you could still develop a 12-month plan how you're going to. So in that plan, it might say, at our next update of the National Tourism Strategy, we will add this. And these are the steps that we're doing in the meantime. So it's still possible to effectively have something that gets you there in the long term. So I just mentioned five pathways here, really important, because the two that are absolutely central is the measurement and the decarbonization. So that's effectively the outcomes. Regeneration, Virginia mentioned, very important as well, because it links to many other adaptation and conservation and so on. So those three are really the outcomes. And then the collaboration and finance are the enabling factors. They support the other pathways. And we've already talked a bit about that in the policy guidance on what's available. Now, measurement. Okay, so how to? The easiest, of course, well, it's actually not easy. Once you start measuring, it's always trickier than you think. But to start with the own NTA, you know, your own footprint as an organization, which is just like any other organization or business, to start measuring carbon, that's really good because it builds the capability in the organization. It also shows leadership for the businesses to say, okay, look, we're doing it, you can follow, starting with the own footprint. But then the idea is, of course, to extend it to measure the sector emissions. And for example, UNWTO has developed the statistical framework for measuring sustainability and carbon as part of that of tourism. Now that would be at a national level. You have to check if you have the data there, if you have a satellite account. Otherwise, there's other ways where you could estimate and track the carbon emissions. That's sort of almost the condition for then being able to effectively decarbonize. There's a few things you could start immediately, and we've got examples how, you know, even in your own office, reduce the carbon footprint, do some very obvious low-hanging fruits, get people engaged, identify even your own procurement. You know, could you switch to lower carbon options and build the capacity within the NTA around climate literacy. Would also be a good idea to engage with the sector. I think some of you mentioned in your interventions, you're already working with the private sector. Most countries would have some climate champions already, some initiatives that maybe could be highlighted, could be mapped and then scaled up. Regeneration, for me, that's a really important one, because it's a bit like, I mean, decarbonization is challenging. Regeneration is a really positive. I mean, I truly believe tourism can be a crucial part of you know, nature conservation, restoration activities, and it's also so important for adaptation. So tourism as a vehicle for supporting some of the regenerative activity, really important. So reaching out to conservation organizations, existing projects, asking communities, and partnerships around nature-based solutions, great opportunity. The two last one, as I said, are really the enabling one. One is around collaboration, and we've talked quite a bit about that now, whether that's across government, but also with other players, including universities to provide some knowledge, or the private sector. So it's really coordinating an effective response on behalf of the sector. Finance, so we split the sort of recommendations in the document into internal funding, because as an NTA, when you commit to climate action, you also obviously need the resources committed, whether that's staff time. So ideally you have an FTE, an employee or someone looking after it, but also some resources to actually support the implementation. So that's the internal funding. And then the wider finance, which we talked about in the policy guidance, what mechanisms, other parts of government to really, really make a change. And then moving to commitment 4, so this was all in commitment 3 with the pathways, is the reporting. And that's important because it's part of transparency. And that's really also where I guess the world generally more moves towards, that we disclose the carbon emissions. It's also motivational if progress is achieved. It also means other players can be brought into the initiative. So reporting is important. There's a One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program Network platform where all the plans will be available, which hopefully will also share this learning from each other and seeing how others are doing and what initiatives are happening. You could consider other platforms as well for sharing in partnership with other agencies or with the industry to update on progress. Okay, the final commitment and sort of underpinning everything, well, it's a collaboration across the sector and beyond to really work together, share the lessons, including today. I mean, what you already shared is hopefully encouraging. I'm certainly feeling really enthused by what I hear, and so that's the spirit of the Glasgow Declaration, to share the best practice and work together.